Dude, it couldn't be more of an exciting time for you. First off, I mean, you're on the road doing the 20th anniversary now with Seven Dust, but in less than a month, the new Projected album comes out, Ignite My Insanity, and I mean, I've listened to it a couple times through, and there's a lot to digest with this album. I
There
mean,
sure is.
there really is. I mean, 5 years. I mean, fans may have been waiting 5 years, but you made it well worth the wait. I mean, two discs. How? First off, I mean, how long in the making was this record?
We started this, we probably started this thing about 2 years ago for real.
Okay.
Um, it kind of been one of those things where, I knew it was on the radar, and obviously I was kind of picking around and, kind of pulling some demos and stuff. And,
Mm-hmm.
Flip had hit me up, and like, when are we going to do more Projector? When are we going to do more Projector? All right, cool, cool, cool. So we started looking at the Alter Bridge schedule and his schedule and all that good stuff. And I was like, all right, let's block out a time and let's figure it out. So
Right.
yeah, it's been about 2 years in the making, but unfortunately with the 7S schedule and the Tremonti schedule and the Alter Bridge
Yeah.
schedule, you kind of have to pick and choose, your battles and pick and choose the
Mm-hmm.
moments where you know that you're going to have time to do it.
Exactly.
The only thing that did change from the first record to this one is everything, and I mean everything, was written before we ever hit the studio.
Okay.
The only things that weren't completely dialed in were the intros for both of the discs. But other than that, when Flipper was playing drums, he knew what vocal parts were going to be in the whole. So we kind of did it out of order this time. We finished the record, and then we went and we kind of, started working on it as a completed piece of work.
Okay.
In the first album, it was a different animal because, Scott would be playing drum fills and stuff and be like, am I stepping on anything here? I'm like, I don't know. I haven't written it yet, but I'll let you know if you do.
Nice.
So, yeah, about 2 years in the making on this
Okay.
one.
Well, I mean, everybody's the aside from Seven Dust. I mean, Tremonti and Alter Bridge are on a completely different level than they were 5 years ago
Hmm.
when Human came
Sure.
out. I mean, so those bands alone are busier than they were. So I mean, you just kind of got to take what you can get as far as having time to work on a record like this. I mean,
Yeah.
um,
And the toughest thing about it is probably the fact that the Alter Bridge and Tremonti schedules are kind of on a push-pull.
mhm.
One's either happening or the other's happening. And I
Yeah,
got one dude from one band and one dude from another band. So,
yeah,
it does make things a challenge. But, there is a certain portion of overlap, and
mhm.
you just got to look for it. It just probably takes more work in the scheduling than it does in the actual writing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
The
It makes
writing's
perfect
easy. The
sense.
scheduling it all is nuts.
Well, it helps that Vince is in the band. Vinny's in there with you, so I mean that makes it a little bit easier, I would think, because you
Yeah,
guys can work
yeah.
on stuff
Well,
together.
it it does, and the funny thing about that is he actually tracked most of his bass in Canada
Really?
when we were out on tour last year. Yeah, we did
Oh,
a
okay.
Seven Nose tour in Canada, and all of the stuff had pretty much been tracked. And he
Okay.
was like, "Man, let's just go ahead and blow some bass out." So I brought a DI out and an inbox and a small laptop, and we'd hole up in the dressing room every day or a hotel room, and we just hammer the parts out. And then we would
Nice.
take it, obviously we took it back to the studio and we reamped it and did all that good stuff to, his actual gear. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it's crazy how you make music nowadays.
Yeah.
You do it with hard drives and you do it in hotel rooms. So,
Yeah. Or on the bus.
or on the bus. Yep. Yep.
I mean, at what point did you decide to do a double disc, a two CD release? I mean, was it just there was so much material that what you just couldn't pick between everything? And did you want to do that from the beginning, or I mean, where
The
did you
idea at
decide?
the beginning was, you know, I never sat down and said, okay, we're going to make a concept record. And then I definitely never sat down and said, we're going to make a double disc concept record.
Right.
It kind of came to me, and it was kind of one of those things where, you get around 15, 16 songs and you're feeling pretty comfortable. You're like, all right, now we need to start trimming stuff down. What's going to be the B-sides? What's going to be the
Hmm.
first to go? And
Yeah.
every time I try to go and cut a song, someone would have an issue with it. I'm going to get rid of this one. No, you can't get rid of that one. That's my favorite. Okay, cool. Then I'll get rid of this one. No, don't get rid of that one. I love that one. And I'm like, okay. So, after a couple of weeks of that, I realized it's easier to push forward than it is to take steps back.
Hmm.
So we just took 16 and we just pushed it all the way through to 21. you know, it's kind of cool when we realized it was going to be all connected in one big project.
Hmm.
Um, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, you can't do a double record nowadays. You're crazy. People want songs one at a time, and they want
Yeah.
EPs and, you know, singles and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, but this is a side project, and this
Right.
is something that doesn't have any kind of pressure and expectations on it.
Hmm.
So let's have some fun with it. Let's go back to the days of, you know, opening up an album, you know,
Yeah.
vinyl, and actually seeing the artwork and, you know,
Hmm.
having the whole audio and visual experience.
Yep.
So for us, we said, all right, you know, let's have fun with it. This isn't something that's normal anyway, so let's just do what they're not expecting.
Right, and the fans that have been waiting so long, I mean, they're just going to be more excited about how much more there is. I mean, you
Of course,
wait
yeah.
5 years. I mean, one of my best friends, like ever since the first record release, he's like, dude, if Projected ever does anything again, please let me know. I have to have it. I have to hear it. I was like, okay,
That's awesome.
might be waiting, but okay.
Yeah, yeah, right.
So yeah, I mean, I think there's bands have done double albums in the past. I mean, Stone Sour did one 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. That went well. I
Yeah.
mean, so the fans that want to hear it aren't going to care whether it's a double disc or a single disc or a single or a greatest hits. They're going to buy it. I mean, one way or another, they'll pick it up. I
Sure.
mean,
Well,
um,
that was kind of the point. It was like, you
mhm.
know, I mean, it's so easy to fall into the, you know, the business of, you know, the
Yeah.
business of the business. You know, it's like, okay, everyone tells you you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. And it's like, art doesn't really have those kind of limitations and those
Hmm.
boundaries, especially
Exactly.
with a side project, especially with something that, you know, I mean, we've only been in the same room maybe twice in the existence of the band,
Right.
you know, because we all live in different states and different bands and different schedules.
Hmm.
I mean, it's rare when you can get all four of us together in one spot at one time. I mean, we
Yeah.
did it for the Johnny Jam, for the one show we played, and then we did it for the video shoot.
Hmm.
And it was awesome. It was
I would
actually a
think
lot of
so.
fun. We were like, hey, we got the band together. This is killer.
That's awesome. I mean, man. I mean, but the first record was really self released. It was all
Hmm.
really DIY. This time you've got Rat Pack, distributing it behind you and all that stuff. Does that make it easier, or does that how does that affect things?
It definitely makes it easier. But for me, I mean, you know, it's one thing when you write, you know, a record and then you produce a record and then
Hmm.
you release the record and you're actually mailing out the record. You know, you're so attached to it that
Yeah.
I think part of me, it was hard for me to take my hands off the steering wheel. You know what I mean? I was like,
Yeah.
okay, hang on a second. I know you can drive the car. I'm just kind of freaked out because I'm used to driving the car.
Right.
It definitely makes things easier though, because there's, you know, on the first one, the way that we did it, you know, we took what we could get and we went out there and we spread the word as much as we did. And, you know, it ended up doing a lot better than we expected that it would, but we weren't delusional in thinking that we were going to sell 16 million albums. You know,
Hmm.
that wasn't ever the goal.
Right.
So, you know, for this time around, we realized, okay, it's on people's radar.
Hmm.
There was just no physical way to do it out of the house. No matter how many times I tried to hammer that idea into place, it wasn't going to work
Right.
because, you know, I mean, I love being able to have as much hands-on as I can,
Hmm.
but I also like to have my hands on a guitar where I can actually work on music and
Yeah.
do that part of it. So having Rat Pack come on board to help me do the other things that have
Hmm.
nothing to do with music is, I mean, it's a blessing. It really is. You know, they're
Right.
into it too. I mean, they're super into the project, and you know, I'm
Awesome.
excited about that. It's cool. I mean, it's nice to have someone step forward and say, "Hey, man, let me do all this for you," so that you can
Yeah.
actually kind of focus on, you know, the singing and the playing and the
Hmm.
writing and being the artist.
And from what I've heard, they are really good about letting the artist be the artist and come to them with a final product and say, "This is what we did. Okay, cool. Well, let's go ahead and do this." From what I've heard, they're
Hmm.
not too controlling about things, like
Not at
a
all.
lot of major labels can be. So,
Not at all. I think the only thing that and I'm so glad that they did it, about halfway through the process, we went from the double album idea to, okay, let's split it up.
mhm.
Let's make one disc and then we'll wait a year and a half, and then release the next disc.
Okay,
And that was kind of like a plan B.
gotcha.
And when we were kind of discussing it with them, we kind of pitched the plan B. And Joe, he emailed me out of the blue, and he goes, okay, he goes, I want to do this deal. The only thing that we definitely are going to put our foot down about it is we want to make it a double record.
Hmm.
So for me, it was kind of like a bittersweet, like, all right, wait a minute. I was trying to be the rational business guy, and you're the one telling me to be the artist. So I was like, okay,
That's
let's
new.
do this. Yeah, completely, right?
That's
It's
cool.
usually the other way around,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. And it's like, no, we got to do this. The label's like, no, we're gonna do this. I was like, nope, whatever. So
Yeah.
that's really really cool.
It was
Um,
so awesome. I was like, wow, okay, you really want, you, I mean, all right. It's like, let's do this now. So,
right.
so we did, you know?
That's awesome. I remember when I got the promo to listen to. I opened it up. I'm like, oh, cool. All right, cool. We're gonna get it's an album. I open it up. I'm like, 21 songs. All right, yes. All right.
Let's dig in.
I know. It's like I'm gonna be listening for a while. I love it. I mean, oh man, it's gonna be and it's a great album. I mean, for me, a couple of songs that really stand out. One is Rectify. I absolutely love that song. I feel like it
Oh, I appreciate that one.
definitely. I mean, that
Yeah.
song in particular. I mean, vocally. I mean, your vocals are just outstanding on that
Thank
on
you
that
very much.
track.
Thank
Um,
you. That was actually, I can't take all the credit. I can take the credit on the vocals for it.
okay,
Well, E-Rock's on there too. But that was actually a co-write. I
really
wrote all the music, and Mark Tremonti helped me out. He wrote he
nice.
wrote the vocal melody and the lyrics on the chorus. He actually wrote the vocal melody on the verses. I wrote the lyrics for the verses. But yeah, he wrote on Watch It Burn.
Okay,
You know, he saved that song from being thrown in the trash because I was
good.
ready to cut it. You
Oh,
know, he wrote on that one, and then he wrote on Rectify. And he actually wrote on Call Me the Devil too,
that's
which
awesome.
was it's cool. He's such a dear friend, and he's one of those dudes where I send him music, and literally like 20 minutes after I send it to him, I get a chorus back. It's kind of like he's on it,
He's
and
like,
he enjoys doing that, you know, because he's known as a guitar player,
yeah,
but he's such a good singer and
he
such a good
is.
lyricist.
He's a very underrated singer too. I mean,
Hugely
extremely.
underrated.
Yeah, that's one thing I was gonna ask. I mean, with Scott in the band and guys from Tremonti and stuff, I was gonna ask how much, if there's any crossover with Miles and Mark on any of the writing and work on the record. You answered that right there. It sounds like there's
Yeah,
been
absolutely.
some
Yeah.
collaboration. So I mean, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Well, Miles and Mark were on Hope and Sorrow back in the day. I mean, we've been
Hmm.
friends with the Creed guys since
Oh yeah.
like 99, 2000,
Oh yeah.
you know. And I live in Orlando, right around the corner from both Scott and Mark, you
Nice.
know. And, I see Garrett all the time.
That's
And
awesome.
E-Rock, obviously, when he
Yep.
stays, you know, comes and hangs out. I mean, he and Garrett are like best friends. So, but
Nice.
it's cool. It's a nice little clique of folks. And it's really cool to see each you know, like the Tremonti,
Hmm.
going from the Tremonti project to Tremonti now to going into their what'll end up
Yeah.
being their fourth record. You know,
It's
they're
so
going to start their
cool.
fourth record in January. It's going to be awesome.
I was gonna ask. I mean, going from Seven Dust, where you're obviously guitar and mainly backup vocals,
You
to Projected. I mean, do you see Projected as your chance to really just let loose, artistically and vocally?
sort of, yeah. You know, I mean, in a lot of ways, because I mean, it's so cool being in a band with John. He's one of the greatest rock and
Mm-hmm.
roll singers I've ever run across.
Very.
But stylistically, we just, I can't do what he does. I mean, I'm not delusional enough to think that I can. I'm just not that type of a singer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, I need a little bit more prep work. I need to warm up a little bit. For him, it's just such a natural thing, and it is cool for me to be able to say, okay, since I'm not able to do that, I'm able to do this, and I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to force him to do my stupid stuff. So that's what Projected's kind of cool, because
Yeah,
our voices are different. You know, we have a different style and a different approach. So,
definitely. I've got to ask, man, how much fun has this anniversary tour been for you? Playing this record and doing the. It's a short run, but it's a fun one.
it's a short run. Yeah, we're two shows in. We're going on our third show tonight.
Yep.
We're doing five in a row,
Hmm.
5 shows in 5 days. But yeah, it's really cool. It's just a nostalgia trip. It's like,
Yeah,
I don't know, man. You're like 3 songs into that record, and it just kind of takes you back
it
to
does.
1997, 1998. So it's cool, and seeing all the familiar faces and the people that have been along for the whole ride, and some people who've been along for 10 years of the ride or whatever.
Hmm.
But it's really cool to look out at the crowd and to see their reaction and see
Yeah.
them singing it. See, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a
Awesome.
lot more fun than I expected it to be. I knew it was going to be a blast, but
Yeah.
it sounds good. It feels good. We haven't derailed any songs yet.
Good. Were there any songs that you're like, oh man, I don't, I gotta relearn this or anything like that? Are there any
Yeah,
tough
all of
ones?
them.
All of them.
Wired, Will It Bleed, Face, Born to Die. You know, it was like
Right.
you got to do a little bit of a refresher. So
Of
I
course.
started about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I'd go in my studio and I'd fire the record up and be like, I'd sit there, I'd listen, be like, all right, who's playing that? 'Cause I don't know if that's me or if that's Clint.
Better safe than sorry. Just relearn all of it.
Right, right.
Is there anything from back in the day when the record released and you guys started touring between '97 and maybe 2000 that really is just a fond memory for you that it's just like that stands out?
Yeah, probably walking the grounds of Woodstock before
Oh,
they were open, because we showed up on the Sunday
okay.
after Korn and Limp Bizkit had
Oh
just
man.
destroyed the joint.
Yeah. Oh god.
And we got in early. We were on the Warp Tour, and
Hmm.
we probably got in at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. And me and LJ were excited. So we're like, man, 7 o'clock. Let's get up. Let's go walk around. So we
Nice.
walked literally in general population from the east stage all the way down to the west stage, and it was just craziness.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, here comes Willie Nelson, you know,
Nice.
firing up the stage, and then
Oh
here's the
man.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, and we were just like, just trying to soak it all in. That was
Wow.
probably one of the most standout memories because just the sheer size and spectacle of it was just, we're just a little band. I mean,
Hmm.
we played some cool shows, we played some Ozfest and stuff, but Woodstock was just, it was another level.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could have been there at that show. I mean, that's one show I wish I could have seen. I mean, just I've heard stories about Woodstock, and it's just like I wish they'd do it again. I just
Yeah,
that'd be so
I
cool.
think they had so much negative crap at
They
the end
did.
of it because for us it was great. It
Hmm.
was like the whole front. The first 2 days was awesome, and the last 2 hours is just where it all kind of got weird.
Yeah,
But
yeah. People.
for us being a band who, I mean, on our first record, we didn't expect to do anything.
Hmm.
We were just happy to get a record deal and have, two people maybe like our music. I mean, we had no idea that we were ever going to get a chance to do a second record.
Right.
You're always dealing with sophomore slump and all that good
Hmm.
stuff. So,
Yeah.
we had just finished home, and here we are rolling into Woodstock. And it was just like, wow, okay, this
Wow.
is a lot to take in.
Man, that's just awesome. Um, man, so after the Seven Dust tour is up here, just a few days. I mean, what are we looking for? I mean, obviously projected is out July 21st. So
Mhm.
that's coming out. That's coming up. I mean, it's going to be hard to tour on that record. So I mean, what are we looking at for the rest of the year just from yourself?
For me, I've got a couple. I think there's one or two more Seven Dust shows. We got a couple
Hmm.
radio shows over the summer.
Yep.
I'm actually going to head to Atlanta to start like actual group writing. We've been writing since February
Oh,
individually.
okay.
But we're actually going to get together. Clint's out with Cedar, but I
Hmm.
think the four of us, Vinny, myself, John, and Morgan, are going to get in the room for about 5 or 6 days.
Okay.
Just make music, just make noise, just bang around stuff and record everything and see what happens.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because August is probably going to be, a little bit more kind of tightening up, kind of going back through the demos and all that stuff. And I
Okay.
would guess pre-production will probably be in the neck of October.
Okay.
So from now until October, we're going to be getting our ducks in a row. I mean, we've got so much music to go through as it is, but
Hmm.
sometimes when you write a whole ton of music, it's hard to stay focused. Like
Sure.
sometimes too much can be a bad thing because
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you get what happened with Projected. You get one guy who loves this song, another guy loves this song, another you're like, all right, wait a minute,
Right.
too many options. But yeah,
Yeah.
for the rest of the year, I think it's going to be right, pre-produce and then record,
Okay.
locked and loaded. And I'll be doing a lot of work with the Projected stuff. I've
Nice.
actually got a few songs written for the third record, believe it or not.
Ooh. Yes. Yes. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that accidentally happened, and I was like, oh wow, I'm sitting here trying to write songs. There's a Projected song.
That's
Okay.
awesome. Oh man, I can't wait. Man, dude, John, thank you so much for taking time to talk to me.
Absolutely.
I've got the album on my phone. I've got to drive to Noblesville tonight for a show. I'm rocking out. I'm playing it at work, rocking out on the way to the show. It's projected all week. So, oh man, it's so good,
Nice,
man.
man.
Definitely
I really
congratulations
appreciate it.
definitely
Thank
congrats
you.
on a kick-ass record and enjoy good luck on the rest of the Seven Dust tour.
Thank you. Thank you very much, man. We appreciate it.
Definitely, man. We'll talk to you again soon, I'm sure.